how I lost my best friend, because I was casting a money spell. So since I was a little girl, investigate their land. They had it in their mind that somebody had cursed their land because cows would turn up dead, okay? Voodoo dolls would be left on their porch. I shit you not. And strange ass symbols were carved into trees around the property. Very strange.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Huh? Yes.
Look at you.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me always. Money coming in all day. Money coming in all paid. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just.
Y'all want some scary shit? Now this next story takes place in Alaska, the final frontier. It begins in 2022 when a dispatcher gets a 911 call from an older man named Dimitri. 911 call is routine. State your emergency and location. So, Dimitri says, I died 3 days ago and I need y'all to go get my body. So, the dispatcher is like, I'm sorry, would you like to report a crime? No, I died 3 days ago and I need you to go get my body. I was chopping wood, I had a heart attack, I am laying face down in the snow. Now the temperature is negative 33 degrees and the call volume is like very low, and so the dispatcher is trying to figure out, is this a prank, is this a joke? So he begins to ask more questions. So the dispatcher asks him, what do you see around you? He states, I am in my kitchen. I am looking outside the window at my body laying face down. He states, my house has a blue tin roof and I am in back of it, next to the firewood. So by this time, dispatch has sent rescue to the area and has also, done a little research on the address. Well, they noticed that there was a safety check called in for this same house by a neighbor because the neighbor stated that there is no more smoke coming from the chimney and my neighbor does not ever let the smoke run out, which spooked the shit out of the dispatcher. And again, asking questions. Why do you want us to come get the body? Dimitri states, I don't want the wolves to get it. The ravens have already saw me and already have started plucking at my head. I have lived in Alaska for 37 years and I am required to have a proper burial. So the dispatcher then asked more questions again to keep the caller on the phone. If you are not alive, how are you calling? He states, I can feel my energy drifting. He said, a day ago, I was able to feel the cold. He said, I needed to call you guys so y'all can come get me before I forget how to use the phone. In shock and all, the dispatcher just kind of holds the phone. In the meantime, rescue does arrive to the house. The officer then lets dispatch know, hey, we've arrived, we found the body, axe in hand, face down, it doesn't seem to be foul play. The dispatcher then tries to get Dimitri back on the line, but all the dispatcher can hear now is breathing and what he describes as like somebody squeezing a windpipe and wet, gurgling breathing. They remove the body. Dispatcher does more research only to later find out that phone line had been disconnected for years, and the generator had went out days ago, making it impossible for this to happen. The dispatcher then puts in a transfer request and is currently working for a different area. That's some scary shit.
So it's October 1st, and y'all already know I have a creepy story to tell you about a case that I worked here in East Texas. This one takes me into the deep woods of East Texas, where history and voodoo very much still leaves their mark. So October of last year, I was hired by a family here in East Texas to investigate their land. They had it in their mind that somebody had cursed their land because cows would turn up dead, okay? Voodoo dolls would be left on their porch, I shit you not, and strange ass symbols were carved into trees around the property. Very strange stuff. Now keep in mind, I'm also a spiritual girly and have been all my life, passed down from generation to generation, because my mom is from Louisiana and my whole entire family is from Louisiana. And I'm not talking about the glorified Louisiana. I'm talking about the pig, Latin, French speaking, swamp riding, alligator wrestling parts of Louisiana. Okay, the Creole folks. That's where my people are from. So I never did think I would be investigating something like this that kind of hits home for me. Now, most people think of voodoo of being just a Louisiana thing. And to be honest, it's not. In the early 1800s, enslaved people would bring their beliefs across the Sabine River into East Texas. And that kind of mixed, the beliefs mixed up with the local other black folklore and kind of created this Texas Southern style voodoo. So we had got to the property and we got everything set up, and we probably started like walking the property maybe like around 12 at night. You know what I'm saying? We wanted to make sure that it was not no kids playing around, you know, playing jokes on somebody, and they wouldn't do it during the day. They would do it at nighttime really late. And I seen a white figure walking the tree line by the house. And me and my partner, we went towards it. And whenever we got to where we kind of seen that white figure at, it was a voodoo doll nailed to a tree. This thing had its mouth literally sewn shut, the eyes sewn shut, and it was nailed to a tree. Now what kills me about this voodoo doll is it had herbs wrapped around it. Now, I dabble in the herbs. I burn my sage and Palo Santo and dragon's blood and all that stuff just like everybody else. But keep in mind, when we went by this tree, there was nobody there. Just this doll nailed to the tree. The herbs were fresh and out of the family's garden. And the families they had cameras, and nobody was in their garden for weeks because of everything that's going on. So y'all already know me. I did my research. And it turns out that this land that they done bought used to be a plantation. Then on top of that, the next day, one of the cows passed away unexpectedly, and they still cannot figure out what happened. I got my ass the hell up out of there, okay? I went straight to my mother, my elders, my ancestors, and asked them to protect me after that point, okay? Because that was one of the most scariest cases that I ever have to deal with, only because it touches home. It touches home. And I still refuse to go that way anywhere. Like, if I gotta go to Dallas, you will not see me go down through this road near where this land is. I refuse. I will not.
Story time on the 8 months I spent feeding a vampire. And if you're into that dark, twisted romance shit, you're definitely gonna want to stay for this one. I was about 21 or 22 years old. This is my midnight ballerina days. One night I'm working at the club, and in walks in one of the most finest men I have ever laid my eyes on. This guy reminded me a lot of Benjamin Bratt, but like sexier, like Benjamin Bratt when he was in his prime, but like just way finer. He's wearing this really nice suit, smells amazing, like perfect teeth. Just everything about this guy was like flawless, and all the girls were looking at him. One by one, the girls, go up to him, talk to him, offer a dance. He's making small talk, but he's not getting any dances. So I walk up to him, start talking to him, and something about him just felt so familiar. Like I was so comfortable with this guy. I felt like I had known him for years. So we're talking, and we were talking for a while. It must have been like an hour. But I was just so like into the conversation that we were having. And he ends up asking me for a dance. And I'm like flattered. I was not expecting that. There was a lot prettier girls there. He turned out a lot prettier girls that night, but he wanted me. So I was like, okay, fuck. So we're in the VIP. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my little dance. And in the light, he notices my arms. So I used to like not be nice to myself. Like I used to hurt myself. And he notices the scars. And he becomes almost like fixated on them. He's so fixated on my scars that he actually tells me to sit down, like to stop dancing. He wants to look at my arm. And he's like caressing them, and like, I don't know, something about the way he was caressing it was very sensual. And he even started to like smell my arm. Like I know that's really weird, but he brought like my arm up to his face and was just like smelling my arm. And I was like, what? Like, okay. And while he's rubbing the scars on my arm, he's looking me in my eyes and telling me like, you are perfect. Your pain is so beautiful. That's exactly what he fucking said to me. Mind y'all, I was a dancer, so like I had seen and heard a bunch of creepy shit. Like I didn't scare easily, but I was kind of like, this is very interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, it was something about him caressing my scars and putting his lips against them that made me feel seen and beautiful, and it was so sensual. So I finished my dance. He thanks me, gives me a fat tip, walks out. He ends up coming back every day for like the next week and getting a dance for me. So one night I'm in the back with him, and he's doing his like little fixating thing on my arm. And he asked me, he's like, do you think you could do that again? Like looking at my arms and rubbing my scars. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, and he's rubbing his fingers across my scars. He's like, could you do this again? I'm like, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me. Like, do I feel like hurting myself again? He's like, no, not that. Like, if I gave you money, could you do that to yourself? And I'm like, dude, you're starting to freak me out. Like, what do you mean? What are you looking for? Like, what's your thing? He ends up telling me, he's like, I really enjoy the taste of. So I'm like, like a normal fucking person would have got really freaked out, but I'm not a normal fucking person. Y'all know me. I'm like, a bitch loves a good plot. I know it's gonna end up being the death of me one day. So I'm like, ooh, you little vampire, you got a little vampire kink? He kind of like shrugs his head like, yeah, you can call it that. And he offers me $800 a feed. That's what he said. I'll give you $800 a feed. I'm like, 1,000. He's like, done. So fast forward, we end up making a date for the feeding, and he actually wants to take me out on a date though. So we go to this nice restaurant. He orders for me. I was fine though because he ordered the steak, and I would have ordered that anyway. So I was really happy with that. And he doesn't eat. He just orders a glass of wine. So we end up going to one of his properties, or at least that's what he told me. He told me that he was in real estate and he owns a bunch of properties, and this is one of his properties. And it is this beautiful, I don't know if it was a mansion, like I don't know what technically makes a mansion, but it was this big ass beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills. I know y'all are like losing your fucking minds right now. Like, bitch, what the fuck? He could have been anybody and done anything to you. I know. We get in this house, there's candles everywhere. There's a fire already rolling in the fireplace. I'm telling you, it was like a scene out of a fucking movie. He asked me to lay down on this really pretty chaise lounge that was by the fireplace, and he pulls out this knife. And I remember this knife, it was a pretty knife. It was like in the shape of a feather. So I'm laying down, he brings the blade over and he asks me, he's like, do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it, the incision? I'm like, you know what? It's for the first time, I'll do it. So I make my incision and he starts to eat. And it was something about the way that he was eating that just, I don't know, it felt really intimate, really sensual. Like, it gave me literal chills. I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. And something in me was just like, I wanted to eat him too. Like, just desire just grew inside of me. I almost felt like I was in a trance, and I got this rush that I have never gotten from any substance that I've ever taken in my life. And it was like instant addiction, that rush that I was getting from him feeding. I've never felt that rush again to this day. And I end up jumping his bones. I told you, I felt this desire to just consume this man. And that was, to this day, the most amazing sex I have ever had in my life. So fucking passionate, and it was just fucking crazy. And that just became our thing. Like, I would go over and I would feed him, and he would end up fucking feeding me, feeding my fire. And I can already hear y'all in the comments, so you were pretty much an SW worker. It was not like that. He was not paying me for that. He was paying to feed. And the other stuff, I was just giving it to him, honestly. In the aftercare, my gosh, we would always take a shower afterwards, and he would pull out his little first aid kit and clean me up and disinfect me and bandage it up and make sure like I was okay. And for 8 months, this is what we did. We would go out to a nice dinner. He would order me the steak. It had to be steak. And I noticed every time we linked up, it would be like nights that were raining. I don't know why the rain, but that was just something that I noticed. And in those 8 months that I spent with him, I ended up making $12K with 12 different feedings. Not only did I make $12K, but it seemed like everything in my life was just like on the up and up. I was making the most money I've ever made at my work, at my club. Like, I was having good luck. Like, I just had everything. And he would literally glow after each feeding. Call me fucking crazy, but I felt like every time I fed him, he looked younger and stronger. And the only reason why the feeding stopped is because I told him, I didn't want to keep doing that to my skin, because I had already had a lot of damage from the prior times of me just hurting myself. And he completely understood. He was sad about it, but he completely understood, and he gave me like one last like really big tip. He gave me like a $3,000 tip, and that was that. Like, I never saw him again. He never came back to the club ever again. And like a year or two later, I drove past that house, like just curious, and I don't think he lived there anymore. I'm not even gonna lie, I was trying to see if I can get some D. That's how amazing it was. I circled back 2 years later. And y'all can judge me all you want. I don't care. I've got my little kinks too. And I was a fully consenting adult. So what do y'all think? Vampire? Or just a guy with a weird kink?
I'm sure by now you guys have heard the story of the peeking wife, but if you haven't, buckle up, this one's scary. So the story is about a guy and his wife who've been married for 6 years, and he notices that she starts peeking at him. And at first, it's very playful, very like pranks, like boo type shit, and then it starts to get crazy. What's crazy is that he mentions that she is not into anything scary, anything horror, not even horror movies. So when she started acting this way, he was freaked out. One morning, he wakes up for work. He's making himself a coffee. He's like this kind of like stirring his coffee. He looks up and notices that his wife is like, hello, just like peeking at him, and he freaks out, spills coffee everywhere, like, what are you doing? They laughed about it. He went to work, and then she started doing it more often. The crazy thing is that she was doing it in very weird places. So he'd be chopping up some onions, getting dinner ready, and she'd be peeking from the side of the island or behind curtains. And one time she even stuffed herself in this old trunk. The lid was closed, but it was this much open to where she was just like. On another occasion, he gets up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water. He's there living his best life, sipping his water. She's there peeking at him, of course. He freaks out. The scariest part is that she crawls backwards, like scurrying away because she had been caught. I'm sure this was traumatizing for him, so he was low-key upset with her. I'm sure he told her some shit, and it eventually stopped for like 2 weeks. Well, one night, they are relaxing on the couch, watching some TV, some Netflix, and he brings it up to her and he says, you know what? You haven't really been peeking at me. You haven't really been trying to scare me. She says, maybe I just got better at it. Hell no. And of course, as we all thought and figured it out, it started happening again. The only thing is that now it's not like pranky. She's not joking about it anymore. She's not laughing. She gets caught and then she's like, just walks away. Like, so weird. So one night he's in the shower, living his best life, taking a bath. He's washing his hair, shampoo's in his face and everything. So he's washing his hair, he's rinsing it, and he hears a noise. He rinses his face, opens his eyes, and his wife is right there peeking. Scares him, of course, through the shower curtain. Her face, her hair, everything is drenched, and she's just like, no. Of course, he yells at her, and he's like, can you get the fuck out? Like, really? Grow up. He finishes his shower. At this point, he's over it. He's over the whole situation. He gets out. He's changing. And he's literally contemplating, like, what do I do? Like, this is getting weird. I'm scared. Like, what do I do? So he's there for about 30 minutes, changing, whatever. And he hears this loud breathing. So he's like, oh shit, she's outside the door. So he's actually very scared and wants to look under the door to see, but he's scared that if he looks under there, she's gonna be peeking. Like, he finally gathers some courage and is just gonna open the door and say, you need to chill the fuck out. As he's getting the courage to open that door, he looks at that restroom closet and he notices that it's this open. So he realizes and he sees her eye peeking at him. He's over it. He freaks out. He runs out of the house, only grabbing his keys, his phone, his wallet, and he's in boxers. And he just drives off to his brother's house. He gets to his brother's house, explains everything. His brother's like, okay, everybody needs to calm down. You can stay here as long as you want. Just chill on the couch, whatever. So he's there chilling. Some time had already passed. Kind of scrolling on his phone, whatever. He looks out the window, and there she is, looking at him through the window with this maniacal looking face, like drooling, and just like that evil grin. Like, oh, I literally have chills. I can't. He calls her mom, explains what's going on. She wants nothing to do with it. A few days pass and he realizes, okay, I have to go home. I have to get some more clothes and we have to figure this out. So him and his brother go to the house. They open the door and this house is dark. It's in the middle of the day. The house is dark, the curtains are closed, and the house is trashed. Everything's broken, picture frames are broken, completely trashed. He doesn't even know if she's home, but as he's going up the stairs into their bedroom so he can grab some clothes, he smells this nastiest smell of rot and decay coming from the bedroom. He walks in. The smell is coming from the bedroom, but he doesn't see anything because everything is trashed. Pictures everywhere, their wedding photos, like everything is everywhere. He just goes straight into the closet, grabs a pile of clothes. When he lifts that clothes, he sees that there's an eyeball in there, but it's a small eyeball. So he moves shit around and there are so many eyeballs, but they're animals' eyeballs. These are animals that have been murdered. They're all like, the eyeballs are just all over the closet. His brother standing in the doorway, he starts freaking out, like, okay, we gotta go. Like, you were not lying. This shit is scary. As he's trying to like get his brother to calm down, he hears that nasty and exciting breath. He looks under the bed, and there she is, peeking at him. He's kind of like telling his brother, stay there, don't come any closer, go get some help, because his wife is under there, and she's like excited, and she's holding onto glass, and it's cutting her hands, like there's blood everywhere. Because that's his wife, and I'm sure he still loves her, he's trying to help her up, like, honey, what is going on? Like, let's go get you some help, let's call 911. Tries to help her out from under the bed, and she stabbed him with that piece of glass. That was his definite breaking point. He ended up ending the whole thing, getting a divorce, and unfortunately she ended up in a psychiatric hospital. I don't know what happened. He doesn't even know what happened. I guess one day she just lost it. But imagine having a seemingly normal marriage, and then something starting as a joke completely derailing into this. This is scary. He dealt with a lot, because I would have been out of this motherfucker in 2.5.
So people ask me all of the time, why do you know so much about psychic gifts, magic, the occult, esoteric knowledge? Baby, I didn't learn this out of leisure. I learned this because I needed to survive. See, as a first-generation Liberian American, I knew about my African roots when it came to magic, because we didn't necessarily do hoodoo, voodoo, all of that. It was more like my great-great-grandfather. If someone needed something done, they would come to him, pay a little bit of money. He would spend 3 days in isolation praying to God. And let's say people came up to him and said, hey, I can't have kids, so can you help me with that? He'll say, okay, give me 3 days, give me some money. He'll go speak to God for 3 days, give them a bottle of water, and in less than a week, they'd have kids. So that's the kind of magic that I'm used to. So that means I didn't know anything about Western esotericism, essentially. So imagine me in my early 20s, I believe I was 24, and I was dating this guy, let's call him Brad. I was dating Brad, getting to know him, and he's like, okay, I'm so serious about you, I want to take it to the next level. So I'm thinking, great, you want to ask me to be your girlfriend, great choice. He then says, hey, can you come into the closet with me? And I was just like, weird, but let's go with it. I then go into a closet that has a cloak, and there's a little bit like other garments, some symbols and everything. And he goes, hey, just so you know, I'm a Freemason. I'm like, a what? I'm a Freemason, and I want you to know that before we take it to the next level, just to make sure that you're comfortable. And I'm just like, what is a Freemason? I don't understand what you're saying. First thing that goes through my mind, okay, it's a closet. There's one exit, one entrance. So can I take him to get out of this closet? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do I want to stay for the plot because I know I can escape? Absolutely. He then goes, okay, you know what? Since you don't know anything about the society, why don't you go home, study, and then tomorrow we meet up again and talk about it. I literally I tried to ask him questions. He's like, no. Just go home, study, read up about it, and ask me questions that you want tomorrow. You should have seen my face when I went home and started researching these things, because I didn't know any of these societies existed. And since then, I've dated 2 psychic spies, confirmed psychic spies. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. You all are mentally ill. Take me off the roster that says it's okay to date me. I do not want to be on that list anymore. I do not want what you're selling. I had to learn this stuff out of literal survival. Because when all of these gifts are being thrown at you through people, or just secret societies are popping up that you had no idea about, you're going to research.
Go back to New Orleans, and this is why. I am back with another spooky story, and you may not want to watch this one at night. So Daphne went to New Orleans last summer with 2 of her friends. They wanted the authentic experience, so they booked this place off Dauphine Street. It looked harmless. Bright blue shutters, iron balcony. They had that charming French Quarter vibe. And inside of the house had antique furniture, and if you're into that stuff, like, it was beautiful. It had like this old vibe to it. Well, the first night, nothing was really off. Besides the house being insanely humid, everything seemed normal. Daphne kept waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. because it felt like someone was standing at the end of her bed. You know that feeling in the room when someone's there? But when she looked, it was just shadows from the ceiling fan. The second night, that's when things started to pick up. Around 2 a.m., she woke up to pacing in the hallway. Slow, heavy steps. She thought it was one of her friends, so she called out. And the steps stopped right outside of her door. She didn't move for almost an hour. When she finally got the courage to open that door, the hallways were empty. Both of her friends were knocked out in their rooms. And by the third night, yeah, everybody had a story to tell. Friend said she woke up to someone tugging on the blanket at her feet. One of them swore she heard a woman crying in the living room. At first, everybody was laughing about it until they noticed something that would shut them up. Every single morning. Now, mind you, they were supposed to stay there for 10 days. Every morning, the chairs had been pulled out from under the dining table as if someone had been sitting there. They would always put them back every night, and sure enough, every morning they would wake up to all the chairs scattered. The next night, one of her friends swore she heard someone dragging furniture in the living room. So they all went and checked, and that's when they noticed that the chairs were moving on their own from under the table. Now, by night 5, this is when they decided that they couldn't do this anymore. At that point, everybody was exhausted. Daphne was dozing off, and she felt the mattress sink, as if someone had just sat down beside her. Her phone slipped out of her hand, and in the black screen reflection, she saw a woman's face over her shoulder, pale, eyes wide open. And when she whipped around, nothing was there. One of the friends had sleep paralysis in the other room, and in her paralysis, she saw this pale woman standing there, rushing down her cheeks and running toward her on the bed. And when the woman got close enough, the friend woke up. And the other friend woke up screaming that night. She said something grabbed at her ankle and scratched her feet. They saw like fingerprints on the floorboards as if someone was crawling under the bed. They said that's all they needed to see. They left at sunrise and none of them looked back. Coco, New Orleans is haunted. I haven't done a haunted house story in so long. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, feel free to submit it to me right here on TikTok or on Instagram. For longer, better, and spookier stories, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I say at the end of every single video, I love you, my beautiful humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl, featuring Coco.
Imagine seeing these really weird shadow things while you're in jail. A follower named James sent me this story, and he says that although he is not very proud, in his younger years he was a knucklehead. He says that he loved to go out, but he also loved to fist fight. Every time that he went out with his friends, he would somehow get into some sort of debacle, and one time it caught up to him. He got into this fight, he was arrested, and he went to jail. Now he says although he was only there for 90 days, in that short amount of time, he witnessed some really weird things. Now he says that at this specific jail, they had a bedtime. 8 p.m. sharp, it was lights out. You didn't technically have to go to sleep, but you did have to lay down. You couldn't talk, you couldn't do anything. And he says that at nighttime is when he would really reflect on life, reflect on his thoughts. And it was really like his thinking time. One night, he is laying there in bed, just staring at his ceiling, and he hears like those batons running across the cell door. And he thought it was just a guard checking up, doing his nightly rounds. He looks up expecting to see a flashlight, and there was nobody there. About 3 days later, again, at nighttime, he is laying there and he hears, but like on the railing. So he sits up thinking he's gonna see somebody. Again, nothing's there. And now this is where things start to get a little bit weird. One specific night, he is asleep and he's laying on his side and he feels something or someone kind of tag on his shirt. Immediately, he's in defense mode. So he's like, what is going on? Turns around, again, nothing there. Then he starts to have really weird dreams. Dreams about someone hurting themselves in that jail cell. He started to ask around, he started to ask the guards, and he said that they are not very nice, and he pretty much had no answers. And every day, as the days would go on, he would have more and more dreams, same setting, but each time he was getting a little bit more information. And with each dream, every night, something weird would happen every single time. In the end, he says that he figured out that someone did hurt themselves in that exact jail cell, and he thinks that maybe that residual energy was kind of messing with him. He's never been interested in the paranormal. He's never really believed in it 100%, but witnessing this firsthand, he absolutely knows that there has to be something out there. He says that this freaked him out, this whole situation. He promised to never go back to that place again. That is pretty scary, the fact that his jail cell was haunted. What do you guys think? Do you think it was haunted, or do you think it was his imagination?
How I lost my best friend because I was casting a money spell. So since I was a little girl, I've been into the whole supernatural witchy thing, okay? That's always been something that I've been, like, super interested in. So when I got on my spiritual journey, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, like, cast some spells. I'm a witch. I'm a witch. But I am a believer, all jokes aside. I'm a true believer in all of the supernatural things. So I go to the store, I get all the things that I need, and one of the things that I needed was a candle. So I go home, I do the spell, I light the candle, I put it on my altar, and I leave. You're supposed to let the candle burn all the way down. So that's what I did. So now the only thing left to do is just let it burn, okay? So I call my friend, we're hanging out, we're smoking, we're chilling, we're dosing, whatever, and then we hear this loud pop. We both looking like, you know, what was that? So we go in the room and we heard the pop. The first thing I noticed is the glass on the floor. The glass is from the candle holder. The candle holder, it's a candle holder. Why did it explode, okay? The candle is burned almost all the way down. I tell her what it was or whatever, and then we go about our business like nothing happened. The next day, she calls me. The next morning, she tells me she got into a wreck on her way to work. I'm freaking out. I'm like, are you okay? Da-da-da-da. Turns out it wasn't that bad of a wreck. She tells me the damages are like $2,500. Cool, whatever. Fast forward 2 days later, I get a random deposit for $2,500. What? Cool, okay? The money, it was legit, you know. I kept it. I went about my day. Now we're going to fast forward to a week later. She tells me, you never believe this, but my bank account got hacked. They took my whole check, $3,800. What? Now, I was in the streets back then. So that same exact night, I came up on a lick. And that lick was for $3,800. So now I'm putting two and two together like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I'm like, what am I going to say to her? What am I going to say? I'm freaking out. I know I have to tell her, but like, what do I say to her? Did I stole your luck? Like, I stole, like, what?
If you're Haitian, I know for a fact that your mom spoke to you about magic, whether it be how to do it or how to stay away from it. With that being said, I want you to stay for this video. 10 years ago, I read somewhere that when Christopher Columbus first came to Haiti, not only did they show him where the gold was, but they also opened up the mysticism of the island to him. What I read was the natives took him to a cliff in the mountains and they told him, hey, if you jump off of this cliff into this water, it's going to take you to another dimension. Now, I, for the life of me, cannot locate this book, and I promise you, I read it with my own eyes. I took this information to my mother, and she said, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Now, fast forward to today. I have been reading this book. It's called Voodoo, the Quantum Leap. It talks about the world's involvement in voodoo, and more specifically, the interest in Haitian voodoo. So not only do you get Asian Buddhist monks coming down to Haiti to learn how to better open up the realms of their religion, but you also have white people coming to Haiti to learn how to quantum leap. This book was written by someone who studies voodoo on a scholarly level, and this book was written 25 years ago. As you read further and further, you learn that the portals that I read about 10 years ago actually exist in Haiti, and then you also learn that there was an experiment called the Philadelphia experiment, as well as Project Rainbow. These experiments were conducted by the US government, aka the CIA, and was focused on the teletransportation of objects. This was all conducted by the US government, but what's also remarkable in this book is that they documented the zombies and they documented the people being turned into goats. Interesting paragraph in this book says, one of the reasons why Haitians are going to always be kept in a state of turmoil is because we fear what voodoo could become if they had stability. And let me remind you, this isn't a focus on voodoo. This is a specific focus on Haitian African voodoo. Like, share, repost, and follow for more.
So I have another spooky story for you. This one follows an old woman whose home is about to go into foreclosure. So our story begins at an old Victorian home in California. This house is massive and it's very valuable at this point in time. The house belonged to an 80-year-old woman named Marion Rayburn, who had grown up in the house and whose family had owned the house for generations. Sadly, Marion's husband had gotten sick, and in order to pay for his hospital bills, which were astronomical, she decided to refinance the house. Now, because she refinanced the house, she had to start making payments on it. Payments that she couldn't afford because she was also paying off these exorbitant hospital bills at the same time. So her house went into foreclosure, and the house was quickly swooped up by a greedy investment banker turned house flipper who had intentions to sell the house at a massive profit. Now, on the day in question, Marion Rayburn was sitting on the porch in her rocking chair as she was famously known to do. This is when Louis, the investment banker turned house flipper, shows up to the property with his wife. There's a moving truck parked outside of the house, and they are there to evict Mrs. Rayburn. Now, Mrs. Rayburn is calmly sitting on the porch, and she just explained what I did earlier in the video, which is that she can't afford to pay her house payment because she's also paying off hospital bills. But Louis, the investor, doesn't give a damn. He sees dollar signs when he sees this house, and he thinks it's time for Mrs. Rayburn to go. Now, his wife is standing beside him. He convinced her to leave her job so they could go into business together, and this proved to be a pretty successful thing for the pair. They made a ton of money doing this, and sadly, Louis had gotten greedy and did not care who he started to hurt in the process. So while the trio is talking, things become acrimonious between Louis and the old woman. The old woman is stating that all she needs is a little bit more time, and that her husband's passed away, and this is a very hard time for her. Again, Louis does not give a damn. He's ready to own this house, sell it, and make a quick buck. He tells the woman that it's time for her to go because he's ready to finally own this house. Now, this is when Miss Rayburn tells him something that would send chills up his wife's spine. She looks Louis dead in the eyes and says, "I see this house as a family heirloom. It's been in my family for generations, and I have intentions of it staying in my family for generations." Then she finishes the conversation staring directly into Louis' soul, it feels, and states that he will never own this home. It doesn't matter what he does. And then she proceeds to walk off the porch, dignified, gets into the car that's waiting for her, and follows the moving truck off the property, never to be seen or heard from again. Now, at this point, Louis is elated. He's not thinking of anything else but getting into this house, fixing it up, and selling it. His wife, on the other hand, is a little more spooked. There's something about the old woman and the way she spoke to Louis that made her think this wasn't over yet. And this is when the problems would ensue for the pair. Now, Louis wasted no time wiping the memory of Mrs. Rayburn from this house. He got in there, gutted the place, put in new carpets, put in new flooring, fixed the appliances, and he was ready to show it to his first set of customers. But when the customers came and they walked in the door, the chandeliers on the ceiling started shaking, and the house started to feel really cold as though the AC was on. Now, this was the middle of the fall, so the AC was in fact not on. Louis had no explanation for the chandelier, so the couple seeing this left, never returned. Now, Louis didn't get discouraged by this. He decided that maybe the home just wasn't for them, and he brought another set of people in. This time when the couple walked in, though, it smelled like there was rot all through the house. He checked everywhere, but couldn't identify the source of the smell. The couple was getting queasy at this point and decided it was time to call it quits. So they left the house, never to be seen or heard from again. Now, Louis at this point is starting to feel some kind of way, but not enough to stop showing this home. So he decides to bring in another set of people. And this time, as they walk inside of the house, there's water everywhere, all over the floor. Overnight, it appears as though the pipes busted. And as a result, the couple seeing this and realizing that this is a ton of money already down the drain, decided that it was time to go. Now, Louis is perplexed at this point. He's wondering what's going on with this house. The inspectors had been there. They had done all the necessary repairs. Things looked good after the inspection ended, and he had also had another set of inspectors come in to check on those inspectors. Everything looked great on paper, so why all of a sudden were they now starting to have these problems? It didn't make sense. But Louis decided to keep showing the house, and couple after couple kept coming in, and couple after couple kept leaving. Nobody was interested in the massive problems that this home had inside of it. And at this point, Louis was in the hole with all of the money he spent on repairs, and his wife was starting to get fed up with it. In fact, she was more than fed up with it, and she made Louis an ultimatum. Either you quit with this house and you sell it to whoever the next buyer is, or you lose me. Now, Louis wasn't a dummy. He loved his wife more than he loved his business, thankfully, but Louis was still convinced that he could turn a profit on this house that had already taken so much money from the couple. His wife, though, was resolute in her decision. You sell this house to the next buyer, or you lose me. And he decided that he would take the former as opposed to the latter. Now, he was being a little sneaky, and he decided to try one more couple, but when they went inside, Louis decided to open the windows so he could show them that they could get nice air, and the windows busted. Not just one, but the whole row of windows, which was uncanny. So the couple seeing this and thinking the old house was just kind of creepy anyways, decided they would leave. So his wife, knowing that he was probably up to his old tricks, decided to do a little pop-up at the house. So when she arrives at the property, Louis is standing there, pissed off because glass is broken everywhere, and he turns around. He's got this really shit-eating grin on his face because he knows he shouldn't be there showing this house. So his wife looks at him and she's like, look, last one. Now, as they're standing here having this little argument, there's a couple who comes up riding their bikes. Louis' wife sees the couple and she puts on her best salesman face and she's like, hey, we're selling this house, offering a great discount. Now the couple is hesitant. They're like, hey, no, we're just here to see this house. We couldn't afford anything this big. We just started grad school and we don't have jobs secured aside from what the university is paying us in scholarships. Now Louis' wife is like, you know what? I'll tell you what, why don't you just go in, take a look around, and if you like it, we can sit and talk about it. Now the couple, they do want to see inside. They've always been curious about it, especially the woman. And so they walk around and they love the house. They get inside and Louis notices for the first time that there's nothing happening inside of the house. So as the couple walks through the home, the woman is absolutely falling in love with it. And she tells her husband it would be so nice if they could afford something like this. So Louis' wife is like, well, I'll tell you what, you got $1? And the couple is looking at her like she's crazy. And the guy's like, yeah, I got $1. And she's like, all right, give me $1 and we'll consider this the bill of sale for the house. I'll send you the deed. You are now homeowners. Now the couple is shocked. They're in absolute disbelief. They never thought in any of their years that they would become the homeowners of $1 million home at this point for the exorbitant cost of $1 whole. And so while they're sitting there, just in awe of their luck for that day, Louis' wife tells him that they need to go outside to the car, get the paperwork since it was already drawn up, and get this house sold. Now Louis, he's huffing and puffing a little bit, but his wife seems really happy, and he decides that if she's happy, he's happy. Happy wife, happy life. So Louis and his wife go to the car, and this is when the couple, who are left inside of the house at this point, start having a conversation. The guy is talking to his wife, and he's just so happy he could make her happy by getting her this house of her dreams. And the woman, who's teary-eyed at this point, looks up at her husband and says, I just wanted to go inside Grandma's house one more time. I grew up here as a kid, and I always wanted to know what it looked like after she moved and what they did with it. So at the end, it seems like Mrs. Rayburn got the last laugh. Not only did Louis go into debt trying to fix that house, the same debt he didn't care that she had gotten into trying to save her husband, but he never owned the house, and it ended up being the heirloom she desired for her family. Now, what's odd is that as Louis' wife was walking to the car to get the paperwork, she noticed that there was an old rocking chair on the porch that appeared to be moving. Now, come to find out, 2 weeks after Mrs. Rayburn had gotten evicted from the home, she passed away and died. And Louis' wife likes to think that that was her spirit who connected her granddaughter with her former house, and that helped her get the last laugh on Louis. Anyways, though, I want to know what you guys are thinking about this story. Do you think this was sheer coincidence, or do you think it was the ghost of Mrs. Rayburn? Anyways, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video.
Like I said, we're going to touch up some stuff on this book. So in this book is called Spell of Abundance, Love, Wealth, and Protection. So in this book, on the first page, actually, I have a glamour affirmation that you will basically say, you stand in front of the mirror and you stare at yourself and you admire yourself, and you will say to yourself how beautiful you are. You'll basically seal this your beauty, like your glam, after you've done your makeup, or even stand in front of the mirror naked with nothing on, so you can really reaffirm yourself of your beauty, of your confidence, and all that. This book is mainly for like self-confidence and self-elevation, you know, calling the goddess in you, calling the divinity in you, you know, calling the beauty in you, and also work with the moon, because the moon represents the woman, the mother, womb, water, all of this. So yeah, I have all the steps in here of all the spells that you need to do. It even has one for to get rid of unwanted guests. It's pretty funny. To get rid of unwanted guests. And this book right here, right? So I'm gonna run down real quick of all the materials that you're going to need. You will need a brand new broom. It has to be brand new. And you'll need a piece of parchment paper, a black pen, a black trash bag, because we're going to get rid of this sucker, right? And of course your intentions. And also I have spells on here that you can say. I have daily affirmations. And also I have spells on here that you can do every single day to work with the energy of the planets of the day, and also the archangels that work with the day. So anyways, there's so many spells. There's a 7-day manifestation spell with archangels, and let's see, a 30-day money spell with bay leaves and the Fihu sign, which is a money sign. It's like a F with that extra part. Anyways, the symbol's there, and I even show you like what you need to do, what the sigil look like, all that, and the keys to enhance your spell. So there are different things on here on how to enhance your spell and basically grow your finance, grow your love, self-love, self-admiration, chance to say to yourself to give you that extra energy to go about your day. And also tips to enhance your spell. Oh, I already said this. And morning coffee abundance prosperity spell. You guys remember I just shared a video about morning coffee and how important it is when it comes to hoodoo, and how you can basically use your first cup of coffee in the morning to manifest a better life or a better day, or to bring forth money to you. So don't let, you know, you're already doing these things anyway, so you might as well just incorporate something a little bit extra to basically boost your thing. And here's a to influence your boss spell. So this one, I'm sure people who are actually working are going to love this. It's to influence your boss and attract favors towards you at work. Because look, in this economy, we're all working and we need some boost at work, and we also sometimes need to be tied to our job, so therefore you don't get fired. You know what I mean? So there's some stuff that you could do to basically tie yourself to your job, and or tie the job to you. And once you're done and you're all tired of that job, you can get rid of it. It's not something that's completely permanent, but use magic, guys. It's here for you to use. You have the herbs in your closet, you have the herbs in your pantry, you have the candles that you could just simply buy some candles super cheap. Use magic to elevate your life. Use magic to make yourself better. Let me tell you, Jesus was out here using magic, okay? Walking on water and stuff and turning water into wine. Sounds like magic to me. But anyways, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.